it was the most routine part of the day.
Get up, get dressed, get on the school bus, and off to a day of classes with friends. Gossip at the lunch table and recess out at the jungle gym. Well, now that school day schedule is as big of a question as anything we are facing in this pandemic.
And with the education of our future leaders on the line, our children, it's imperative that this problem is solved the right way.
For a lot of school leaders, that starts with a framework of how to re-envision the school day with the health of students and staff at the forefront. That guidance has been slow coming. Just last week, the CDC issued some guidelines for schools to consider. It advised closing communal spaces like cafeterias if possible, cleaning frequently touched surfaces.
Also modifying the layout in the classroom and having students and teachers wear masks when possible. But also noted there are exceptions to so many of these things, as each school district and each student is different. Those guidelines have a lot of leeway in them.
And that's leaving both primary school districts and colleges across upstate New York coming up with ideas and more ideas, hoping they will have it right by the fall. It's the towering question on the minds of school leaders across upstate New York, whether schools will open in the fall and how to do it safely. Can you say for sure at this point whether students will go back to school in September?
It just feels like this is a different dimension now, that I think this is much more problematic because it does affect children. So I'm not quite as confident as I might have been 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Liverpool School Superintendent Dr. Mark Potter is at the helm of one of the largest school districts in central New York. With some 6,900 students and more than 1,200 employees, reimagining school is a monumental task. Every day he's faced with 1,000 questions and just as many decisions to make.
Really trying to look at what would be the issues related to social distancing, understanding that when kids come into the building, are we creating a safe environment?
With an average class size of 22 students, that may be far too many once school resumes. Potter is looking for ways to spread out students, even considering turning the cafeteria into a classroom. The gym could also be used. And district leaders are exploring converting some hallways into one-way walkways. But the district's 14 school buildings are configured differently, each presenting their own unique challenges.
I think it's an interesting dilemma for us to be able to come up with a school model that's going to fit, and one size fits all. And
there's something really powerful and special about teaching, but also
figuring out that perfect fit is the most ambitious challenge Stuart Smith has ever faced.
The idea of reimagining my classroom and reimagining the hallways, reimagining our cafeterias, all of that is something that it's almost as if I can't imagine. It's difficult to see what that would look like.
But the high school French teacher sees a silver lining in the prospect of fewer students in each class.
As teachers, we're always asking for smaller class sizes. Maybe this is the opportunity that we could work something to support students in a way that does reduce our classroom sizes and maintains our health.
Down the hall, 6th grade math teacher Don Cohane is gearing up to be the motivator in chief.
If I have to roll into a mask, yep, hey guys, guess what? I'm wearing a mask. Let's go.
He's already looking at the logistics of re-envisioning his classroom.
I was in the classroom not too long ago, and I was sort of measuring out the room of what's the maximum amount of desks that I could have. I have too many in my room right now, but I've been looking at that.
To keep students safe, Cohane says they've talked about having teachers rotate to different rooms rather than students. They're also considering having students eat lunch at their desks.
As recess goes, what is that going to look like for students? How do you tell a group of 66th graders, let's go out for recess, but don't touch and don't go near anyone? Those are conversations that we're having.
These are conversations happening not only at elementary, middle, and high schools, but also on college campuses where leaders here at Onondaga Community College are working to create a new normal.
All of our faculty are working on understanding what's best delivered hands-on, what absolutely must be hands-on, and what could be at various distances.
OCC President Dr. Casey Craybill calls it the biggest challenge of her career. She and her team are looking at what can be taught remotely, like lectures, and what must be in person, like dissections in a biology lab or using a drill press for technical training.
It may be possible, for example, to have a class where some people are face-to-face on Monday, but other people are face-to-face on Wednesday. And you can de-densify that way, but also have that kind of interactions.
They are already thinking outside the box, exploring ways to spread out desks, and expect to have a single point of entry to campus. Crable says there will likely be health screenings for employees and possibly students, which could include temperature checks. Both faculty and students could be required to wear a mask. Crable says she is still waiting for guidance from the state health department and state university system, and they expect to make a decision about classes by the third week of June.
So we've been asked for a plan, and the plan has parameters, and the parameters are designed to help us think through the specifics of our own campus.
Colleges and universities across upstate New York are starting to debut those plans. Ithaca College at the base of Cayuga Lake is among the first to announce they will delay the start of the semester until October. Syracuse University will begin early and end before Thanksgiving to prevent students from coming to and from campus.
How could we get this a rigorous academic schedule done and maybe get everyone home before Thanksgiving? Or right before Thanksgiving, when it is estimated that a potential second wave might hit.
Back on the community college campus, life remains at a standstill. Its childcare facility has remained open throughout the shutdown, providing critical help for frontline workers.
We know how important that's going to be when people get back to work.
That will be a big piece of the puzzle to help our community return to some kind of new normal. Opening secondary schools will be a key component of helping parents get back to work.
Hate to get too far out in front of the parade and think we've got the answers when we don't know for sure what the game rules are.
Liverpool Superintendent Dr. Mark Potter is still waiting for a roadmap from the Board of Regents and State Education Department.
What kinds of guidance are you getting? Are you getting any kind of template?
I don't know if they don't know what they need to tell us. I think they're, again, looking at this from this, maybe it's just very simple, social distancing. You need to keep people apart. Well, it's much more complicated than that.
For now, district leaders are crafting all kinds of scenarios, but so many questions remain. Will students and teachers be required to wear a mask? Does the district have to provide them? Will daily temperature checks become the new normal? What will school buses look like? Do districts need to block off every other seat to keep kids apart? Or add bus routes to cut down on the number of students on board? What about fall sports, school concerts, and plays?
I think we're in a quandary, or we're in a situation where we don't know how to plan, when we don't even know if we say let's do this, if it's even going to be allowed.
Dr. Potter wants to reassure parents they are crafting scenarios with the health and safety of students as a top priority. A big part of the plan includes sanitation, keeping classrooms clean along with cafeterias, buses, and playground equipment. What is certain, they know they owe it to the students to get it right.
They're doing.
Okay.
And as teachers like Don Cohane gear up to get back inside the classroom, he says students will likely need a refresher. He is prepared for a review period at the start of school to help get students back on track.
As kids come in, quickly figure out what are they missing. Are they missing some of those key elements? And definitely take that time to catch people up to speed.
And there will be plenty of catching up to do. For French teacher Stuart Smith, not seeing his students in person each day has been the hardest. When they return to class, he looks forward to reconnecting. And while he sees a place for technology in the future, Smith says it could never be a substitute for in-person interaction to help students learn and grow.
Technology is fantastic. Technology, when it works, is great. It doesn't replace the human connection of supporting the teacher and the student, and it can't replace the learning process.
I reached out to the State Education Department and State Board of Regents, along with the SUNY system and the State Health Department, to find out what kind of requirements or recommendations they're giving to local school districts and colleges across the state. The State Health Department tells me they expect to issue guidance to schools in the coming weeks. Now, all of this is putting a strain on students, parents, and teachers, frankly, all of us.